on the right hand side here we have the grisly, the gruesome, the Tower of London. This was founded in 1066 by William the Conqueror and later on finished off by his son William II in 1100. And of course this is where that man Guy Fawkes was taken to the actual water. But he wasn't the only one to be executed here. Two ex-wives of Henry VIII, Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn, they were taken through the tunnel on the right hand side that has the word entry to the Traitors' Gate above it. Taken through here into the grounds of the tower and later executed. Now to be executed within the grounds of the tower, that was only reserved for royalty. The rest of us commoners back in the day, well, we would have been taken to Tower Hill, where we would have been hung in front of a public audience. And back then, that was a fantastic family day out. Now, if you were thinking of paying for a tour of the Tower of London, I'd highly recommend not paying for one. This is because if you speak to the audience, or more commonly known as the beatmakers, very, very nicely, they might in fact give you one for free. This is because they live here alongside working here, and they have done for over 700 years. And this is actually where they got the crown jewels. Now, of course, if they did give you a free tour, do make sure to leave them a tip. As I said, if you tip any London tour guide here today, you get an extra 5 years of good luck. How good is that? But coming up very, very shortly on the right hand side, we do have our beautiful London skyline. And many of our skyscrapers here in London do have some weird looking names. Now, once those come into view, I shall point some of them out for you. Now the pointed one you can see there, that is the Scalpel. Just behind that on the right hand side, the one that looks a bit like a rocket ship, that is the Gherkin. On the left is the Scalpel, the one with the crosses on it, that is the Cheese Grater. And the one closest to us, we have the Walkie-Talkie. Now on top of the Walkie-Talkie, you'll find a Sky Garden, and this is free to enter. However, you do need to buy tickets in advance. But if you do fancy a cocktail with a view, I would definitely recommend checking this place out. Now, if all those free tickets are booked up, of course, you can book a ticket for the cocktail bar. Now, a cocktail in there will cost you around £13 or £14, which isn't too bad, I suppose, for London. Now, if you wanted to go to the top of the Shard, which is on your left-hand side, well, that will cost you around £40. And you don't get a cocktail with that one, so I know which one I'm thinking. But I think the Shard is the tallest building in the UK, and it will forever be that way, as it is as tall as UK aviation laws will allow it to be. It's offices and even apartments. Now, an apartment inside the Shard, that would set you back just around a measly £50 million. And what do you get for that price? Well, you can't open a window, you're not allowed a pet, and you don't get a garden. So is it worth it? I'm not too sure, but it is said that your neighbour would be well renowned for the Black Eyed Peas, and apparently he owns the top floor. So, a winner's a win, I suppose. As we come back onto London Bridge, if you still do not believe me that this is London Bridge, as we pass under, look either side of you on the walls, the name is literally written into the stone. Now, the original London Bridge was built in 50 AD by the strongest of the city. Now, the city consisted of 7-storey buildings and it even had heads on spikes to warn off any traitors or criminals. Now, this bridge burned down the Great Fire of London, and the third bridge was built. Now, this third bridge began to sink, so an American man by the name of Robert P. McCulloch, he bought that bridge for $2.5 million, where it was later sent off brick by to Arizona and reconstructed over Lake Havasu. So, yes, there are 2 London bridges in the world, one here in London and one in Arizona. Now, if you look to your left-hand side, just between Pictors Wharf and the building with all the scaffolding, you'll see London's very own pirate ship. Yes, this is Sir Francis Drake's The Golden Hind. Now, Sir Francis Drake was the first Englishman to accidentally circumnavigate the globe. Now, when Sir Francis Drake set off from Plymouth to go steal gold from Spanish ships leaving South America, he didn't fancy facing them again. So instead, he went in a straight line all the way around the world until he made it back to the UK. And how did we punish him for his piracy? Well, we didn't. He actually gathered so much gold he could pay for the UK foreign debt 3 times over, and Queen Elizabeth I gave him a knighthood for his efforts. So it just goes to show that crime does pay. If you've got friends in high place, of course. Now for the next bridge coming up, we have Southwark Bridge. Now, Southwark Bridge actually gets the nickname of the Lonely Bridge. This is because it connects nothing of interest on the left-hand side to Nothing of interest on the right hand side, so barely anybody uses it. If you do see anybody on it today or receive a wave, well, they are lost and that is a cry for help. This is also the only gaslit bridge here in London, meaning those lanterns you see on top are lit by gas airside. And this was used London Bridge in Disney's Mary Poppins, because I mean, now we've all seen the real London Bridge, let's face it, this one is much more prettier. And now speaking of bridges with their movie heritage, the next bridge coming up, we have Millennium Bridge. Now for any movie fans on board, you may recognise this bridge from movies such as Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, where Voldemort's Death Eaters attacked and destroyed this bridge. Oh, London has fallen where it was attacked and destroyed. Oh god, it's in a galaxy where, you guessed it, it was attacked and destroyed. Now, we have no idea why Hollywood hates this bridge so much, but I promise you it has nothing to do with those little London Eye. We are not that bitter about coming second. Yes, this is what beat the London Eye in the competition I was speaking of earlier, hence its name, Millennium Bridge. Now, Millennium Bridge did have quite a shaky start to its career, as on its first day of opening, over 160,000 Londoners crossed this bridge, where they all noticed a very severe wobble. Now, this wobble was so severe that many of them were throwing up over the sides, falling over, and many actually had to be rescued. Now, after just 3 days' time, this bridge closed down, and it closed for 2 whole years. Now, once this bridge reopened, it was nicknamed as the Blade of Light. However, most of us here in London just know it as the Wobbly Bridge. Now, this very large building on your left hand side with a chimney that stands at 325 feet tall. Now, this is Tate Modern. Now, this is actually the largest collection of modern art in the world. Now, this is also free to enter and you don't need to book your tickets. You can just walk straight in. Now, if you're not the biggest fan of modern art, if you go to the top, you'll find yourself in a bar. Have a couple of drinks, make your way back down, you might start to see the art a little differently. And just a little bit further off on the left hand side. Now, this very tall, shining skyscraper, newest addition to our London skyline. This is number 1 Blackfriars. Now, of course, like the rest of our skyscrapers here in London, this one here has had some suggestive nicknames. Some of those being the Boomerang, the Baby Bump, the Cocktail Shaker, or my personal favourite, the Kim Kardashian. I'm shaking this way. Now, the name Blackfriars comes from an old Dominican priory here on the north side of the river, where the monks inside wore long black mantles over their white robes and were forever dubbed the Blackfriars. Now, this bridge coming up here, this is Blackfriars Rail Station, the only railway station to span the entire width of the Thames. And you may notice it's rather weird looking roof. That is because each one of those is actually a solar panel, so on a very sunny day here in London, this station is completely solar powered. On the other 364 days, well, it's not. You've all been so curious about. So hello, Blackfriars Bridge. Hi guys. Very excitable waves. Yes, now these mysterious redstone columns now. These used to hold up Hall Bridge, first bridge to steam trains over the Thames. Now, as trains got bigger and heavier, this bridge started to crumble under the weight. So they built the 2 bridges that you see here today. Now, when they came around to removing St. Paul's Bridge, they realised that those stone columns were so deeply embedded into the Thames, the only way to remove them was to use dynamite. Of course, this would destroy the brand new bridges either side, so instead they painted them red, called it a day, hoping nobody would notice. But I noticed, and I mention them every single time I do. And on the right hand side here, you'll see a lot of construction work going on, and I hear your cries. Is this a second London Eye? Is this the newest addition to our London skyline? No, no, no. Do not fear. This is in fact our new and improved sewage system. How exciting. Yes, now this has the official nickname of the Super Pooper. This is because the pipes inside this new super sewer are going to be so large you can fit 2 double-decker buses side by side down them. God knows what we're eating. This is being built to replace our old Victorian sewage system. And before the Victorian sewage system, well, the Thames was a sewage system. We used to throw all our waste into the Thames and let it float away. Now, on a very hot day, this waste fermented and it caused an eventually big stink. Now, this smelled so bad, the majority of London actually had to evacuate, and therefore the Victorian sewage system was born. Now, the Victorian sewage system actually narrowed the Thames so significantly, it flushed out all that waste very, very quickly, and to this day, the Thames is actually one of the cleanest rivers in the world. I'm not too sure how long the bar is, but those are the facts for it. However, the Thames is home to over 135 different types of marine life, where inside we have seahorses, seals, we've had sightings of dolphins and whales, and we even have sharks in the Thames. Yes, we have two types of sharks here in the Thames. We have the taupe shark, which can grow up to 6 feet in length, and we also have the spear dog, which is in fact venomous. So if all of that doesn't give you a reason not to swim the Thames, I have no idea what will. On your right hand side here, you may see two silver griffins. Now these silver griffins mark us leaving the city of London and entering the city of Westminster. And if you were to walk around the entire perimeter of London, you'll see these silver griffins everywhere that you went. Now, as I mentioned earlier, of course, the Thames is a tidal river. Sometimes does rise and it also does fall. And if you look on the wall, you can see some green lion heads with rings in their mouths. Now, these used to be old boat mooring points. However, they're not needed for that anymore, so instead we use them as a flood detection system here in London. And of course, this has its own little rhyme that goes a little something like this. If the lion heads are drinking, well, London is sinking. If the water's up to their mains, London's going down the drains. And if the lion heads are ducked, well, London is flooded. London is flooded. And on the left hand side here, this very large, ugly building with the electronic board on top. Now, this is our National Theatre, built in the Brutalist style of architecture. And our King Charles, said that it looks like the back end of a nuclear power station. However, do not be fooled by its ugly outer. Inside are three beautiful theatres, the largest one being the Olivier Theatre. Now, this was named after its first artistic director, Laurence Olivier. Bernie did, if you wanted to go see a West End quality show for a lot less than the West End price, I would definitely recommend checking this place out, as most shows that are put on here do end up being transferred to the West End eventually. It's a great way to get some cheap tickets for a very, very good quality show. And on your right hand side, this building with the green dome on the roof. Now, this is Somerset House. This used to be an old office that recorded all births, marriages and deaths here in London. And of course had the nickname of the Hatcham, the Matcham and the Dispatcham building. But nowadays it is home to many forms of famous art from many famous artists, the likes of Picasso, Monet and even Van Gogh. Now, a very famous piece of art that is in here is the self-portrait of Van Gogh with the bandage over his ear. So that's the calibre of art that is in here today. On the right hand side here, this building with the green tile roof, this is the world famous Savoy Hotel. Now, many people have stayed here from the likes of Charlie Chaplin, Marilyn Monroe, Justin Bieber and even Taylor Swift. The most expensive room in here is the Royal Suite, and this will set you back just around £18,000 a night for a minimum 3-night stay. And for that price you get your own hand-stitched mattress, your own personal butler and your own 24-hour therapist. And if I was spending 18 grand a night in a hotel room, I would definitely be making use of that therapist. And for the oldest thing you'll see on today's tour, once again on the right hand side, is Cleopatra's Needle. Now, this was actually a gift from Egypt after we helped them in the Battle of the Nile. I repeat, this one is a gift. Probably the only piece of Egyptology we have here in London that isn't stolen. Now, those two things you see at the bottom, they're supposed to be facing outwards, and this is to protect the needle from any danger. However, once again, the Victorians didn't know this, so they're facing inwards and it looks like they're having a nice little chat. If you look at the top of the needle, you'll see some hieroglyphics. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see some loroglyphics. Worst over the top, I can only apologise. Thanks. Now, on the right hand side, we have number 1 Embankment Place, or more commonly known as Charing Cross Railway Station. And the trains that enter there from Hungerford Railway Bridge on the right hand side, they go in there. Now, this is actually designed to look like a steam train coming out of a tunnel with smoke coming out the sides. However, I just see a very large toaster, but each to their own. Now this is your last opportunity to receive any waves on the bridges here today. So we are going to wave, do make them loud and proud. Hello on the bridge!
Hello!
Now as we are coming towards the end of our tour today guys, the toilets on board are now closed. The closest ones will be in the London Eye ticket office or along South Bank or in Waterloo Station once you depart. And when we do begin to dock up, it can get rather bumpy. And it is very important our captains can see what they're doing at this point. So I'd like to ask everyone on the upper deck, please do remain seated and we'll